Hey guys, how are you doing? Hopefully you're having a great day. With bass season slowly winding down for me here in Ontario, I wanted to make a quick video talking about the bait that has produced the most fish for me this year. Hopefully kind of show you guys what I was using, how I was using it, where I was using it. So next season, or if you guys are lucky enough to live down south somewhere, next time you go out, you can use these tips that I've given you to catch a couple of fish. But this bait I want to talk about today, easily, hands down, has produced me the most fish, most consistent bite, and has been a lot of fun catching fish on this bait. So without further ado, today's video we're going to be talking about the Jackal Rhythm Wave 3.8 inch. Now don't get me wrong, I've caught fish on the 3.8 inch, 2.8 inch, 4.8 inch, all the way up to the 5.8 inch. But in today's video, I just want to focus on the 3.8 inch. That's usually what I throw, for bass at least, and it's what I've thrown the most this year. You guys saw in my videos, the 2.8 inch caught a lot of walleye. I caught a couple of decent sized bass on the 4.8 inch as well, but just overall most consistent bite on the 3.8 inch, 100%. Now before we get into the whole specifics of throwing the swim bait, I want to talk about the swim bait itself. This is my swim bait bag right here, as you guys can see. A bunch of different brands, bunch of different swim baits. We got some Mega Bass, some Angler's Choice, and a lot of rhythm waves. I'm going to whip out some of my favorite colors and show you guys them. The ones I used mostly this year. I think there's only 3 that I really used, and a green pumpkin, which I do not have on me. But let me quickly show you these swim baits. So the first color we're going to talk about is actually a new color for this year, for 2018 season, and it's SS Shad. As you guys can see, it's a translucent chartreuse swim bait. On the top of it, it has a little bit more of like a green pumpkin tint to it. On the bottom, it's primarily translucent. It has a green flake and has like a nice like shimmer to the flake, as you guys can see. If I was fishing for smallmouth, this is a swim bait color that I was throwing. As most of you guys know, smallmouth are primarily visual feeders. I don't know what it is about chartreuse, but I absolutely love throwing chartreuse for smallmouth. I fish primarily clear water, so I think the chartreuse stands out a little bit more when it gets them curious. I don't know, honestly. It could also imitate perch and minnow pretty well, which I have in my body of water that I fish, or bodies of water that I fish, pretty much all over Ontario. So all in all, my favorite color for this year, most productive colors for this year, is the SS Shad. Now next up is an old favorite of mine. I've been using this for a couple of seasons, and it's the Bluegill Pearl White color. Pretty self-explanatory. It's a bluegill pearl white color, a nice black blue kind of smoke color on top with blue and gold flake, and then just the belly of it is a white shad color. Imitates minnow very, very well, imitates bluegill well, and that's why I throw it. All in all, just always catches fish. If I don't know what to tie on, I'll tie this color on and pretty much just go to town. Colors don't necessarily matter too much. It's more of the profile and the action of it, but I do like, upping my chances of catching a fish and using colors that I personally believe in and that obviously look good underwater. So last but not least, Prism Shad. And then the color I do not have with me is Green Pumpkin. Green pumpkin, guys. It's green pumpkin. You throw green pumpkin in everything. I usually throw the green pumpkin in low light conditions. Obviously, it's a darker profile. It stands out a little bit more. But other than that, I pretty much always stick to the shad imitation baits. Now that we've talked about the baits, I want to talk about my rod, reel, and line that I use, and then we're going to talk about how I rig them and where I fish them. So you guys have seen this combo everywhere. I've talked about this combo a lot. I use this combo a lot, pretty much all my videos. You guys see this guy right here. This is pretty much my dedicated smaller swim bait rod. Anything, below 5.5 inches pretty much. The rod itself is a 7.2 medium heavy Zodius rod. It has a nice soft tip. I usually fish my swim baits with an exposed hook. We'll talk about that in a second. But that softer tip really helps the rod load up, make sure the fish get the hook in their mouth, and penetrates their skin with the hook. But this rod, very, very light, very sensitive. balanced very well. You don't get tired throwing it all day or anything like that. And yeah, just pretty much one of my favorite rods I own. Period. As for the reel, we have a new reel I put on this year. Previously, I was using the Shimano Casitas. This is the Shimano Corrado DC 150HG, so it's a 7:4:1 gear ratio reel. It's the digital casting reel. As you guys can see, small swim baits. I throw everything from 2.8 inch up to pretty much 4.8 inch on here, with a weighted head, with a weighted belly hook, or weightless. This Corrado DC really helps me cast these swim baits super, super far. I can cover more water in a shorter amount of time with less casts. So if you guys want to see a video where I explain in depth why I think the Corrado DC really shines in these situations, I'm going to leave a link to a video in the top corner of this video and the first link down in the description where I talk about this whole scenario. But I'm just going to keep this sweet and short. Corrado DC on a Zodius. And 7:4:1 gear ratio. I do like the higher gear ratio reel for my swim baits. You know, if I want to slow down, I can slow down, but if I want to burn, I can burn. So as for the line, I use Power Pro. So again, this year I switched up to the Power Pro Super 8 Slick V2 line, as you guys can see. A big thing for me is using high vis line. I use, as you guys can see, green high vis line. When I'm fishing for schooled smallmouth, even schooled largemouth, a lot of the times the fish will actually grab this on the fall. Having a high-vis line of any sort really helps you see when the fish picks it up. You'll see the line jump, or you'll see your line moving to the side. If I had fluorocarbon on or even black braid on, it would be a lot harder for me to see that. There's one video, again, I'll link it down below in the description in the top corner. I caught like 7 fish and 7 casts in the school smallmouth. Almost every time, the fish would bite the bait on the fall, and I was able to see that with my line. So I honestly think it's a very, very big advantage to have high-vis line. Even if you don't feel the bite with your rod, you will see it first with the line right here. So that's the line I use. Leader line, it really just depends what I'm fishing. If I'm fishing for schools of smallmouth, I will usually run a fluorocarbon leader. Other times, I'll just, you know, put Sharpie on my braid. Sometimes I don't even Sharpie in my braid. It really doesn't matter too much to me. If I do feel like I want a fluorocarbon leader just for the added sensitivity and added invisibility, I will. It's just a confidence thing, but really it's like a 50-50 if I do or if I don't. But, I mean, other than that, that is my combo that I use for these swim baits, and I honestly don't think I would change anything. It gets the job done for me very, very well, casts very far, very sensitive, keeps them pinned very well, and definitely very, very efficient combo right here. Now moving on, let's talk about how I rig these swim baits and where I fish them, because how I rig them pretty much depends on where I'm planning to fish them. Now I primarily fish with only a couple different heads. Let me quickly whip these guys out for you guys, and I'll show you why I use these heads, where I use these heads, and just pretty much my whole gist of why I rig the way I do. So let me quickly whip all these guys out and I'll show you guys. So first off, let's talk about the head that I use the most, and that is the football head. Yes, a football head on a swim bait. A buddy of mine, actually Dave from English Choice, he got me into the whole football head on a swim bait thing down on Lake St. Clair. I fish this football head everywhere other than in grass. Obviously, it's an exposed hook, but pretty much 90% of the time I'm using this head right here. It's, again, a football head. It gives the bait a little bit of a different action. It has a nice tail action, obviously, but if you're swimming it, it also has a nice, wobble side to side. I personally really, really like the action, which is why I throw it. Another thing is I actually fish my swim baits very, very close to bottom, usually, almost dragging it, except I'm reeling in my baits. So what it does is my bait kind of stands up like this, and it obviously wobbles and, makes it a lot easier to not get hung up. Obviously, with the football head shape, it kind of bounces off rocks a little bit, but as opposed to fishing something like this in rock, I can get wedged in very easily. With a football head, it's a lot harder, which is primarily why I use it. I will use sizes from 1/8 ounce all the way up to 3, 3/4 of an ounce, but primarily it's that 1/4 and 1/2 ounce deal that I use unless I'm fishing really, really deep water, or if I'm fishing schooling bass, I will go down to 1/8 of an ounce just so they can grab it on the fall and catch a couple of those fish before I actually, get to the bottom and start reeling. But like I said, I usually fish the bottom with my swim baits. I don't usually fish the middle of the column unless I find them there, so 90% of the time I'm using this bait, I'm using this head right here. Now, if I'm fishing grass, I go weedless, and I have 2 options to go weedless. I have a belly weighted hook, which I fish, actually don't even fish that much, to be honest with you guys, but if I'm fishing shallow, fishing around docks maybe, and I want something light so I can sink, slowly, I will use a belly weighted hook, usually what is this? I think it's a VMC or an owner. I don't even know. I have a bunch of different brands that I use, and I'm not really specific, but 3 or 4/0, as you guys can see right here, just a belly weighted hook. It sinks parallel, obviously, to the bottom like this. And primarily what I use if I'm fishing grass is the Freedom Tackle setup right here, the Hydra head. This head, as you guys may not know, actually detaches from the hook, so you can change out different hooks. We have football ones right here, so I can use it if I'm fishing near bottom or fishing rock. And we have the Hydra style, more of a slender profile that I fish if I'm fishing grass, or if I'm fishing suspended fish or the middle of the water column. I will use something like this. This hook is too big, it's a 5/0. I'll usually throw on a 3 or 4/0 on here and pretty much just go to town. I don't know if you guys saw that video, again another video, where I changed out this hook into actually a straight shank hook. And I fished the middle of the water column doing that with an exposed hook. So these heads are very, very versatile. Obviously, you can put any hook you want on there. But if I'm fishing grass, this is what I'm using with the Rhythm Wave. Now, that being said, I fish the Rhythm Wave everywhere and anywhere I can get my bait into. I fish it in grass, in timber, in rock, deep, deep, deep for bass on ledges, for suspended fish, for schooling fish, for fish under docks, for everything. And those heads pretty much cover everything I do. The swim bait colors pretty much cover everything I do. And this rod covers everything I do along with the reel and the line. So that being said, if you guys have any questions or anything like that, leave them down below in the description. I'll do my best to answer them. I know I didn't cover everything, but I could talk about, rhythm waves or smaller swim baits for hours. So if you guys have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. If I don't answer them, email me or message me on Instagram. Again, I'll do my best to answer them. But other than that, I'm going to leave links to the rod, reel, line, and the bait down below in the description if you guys want to see or have a closer look as to what I'm using. But other than that, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.